How you doing, YouTube? Matt Massive Beer Reviews back with a little bit of homebrew up in this piece. Forma of Time and Materials Brewing. This is their plot twist. It's a barrel-aged blonde. They've sent me beer before. I hope they send me beer again. But the next time they send me beer, they're probably going to be a tried and true actual brewery. And by that I mean they've signed the paperwork and now they commercially brew beer for you all to buy, which will be quite nice. But as of right now, we're still on the homebrew tip. As far as what it says in the can here, it says, Plot Twist is our first foray into barrel aging. What started out as a delicate and nuanced Saison has transitioned to a beer that's much more blonde ale than Saison, but also something entirely unique, much like Tomcat Gin. These barrels held before it. The finished beer blurs style lines and offers something deceptively delicious. Yeah, we'll see what's what. Let's crack into this. Here we go. Okay, so got a little snifter. Just washed it out, so it's full of water. And it has this kind of fresh fruit kind of look to it. Almost like there was something else added to it beyond just a base kind of hazy. Could be a little bit of oxidation being it's barrel aged. Label-wise, it's cool. I dig it. You know, it's what they do. They're down with that kind of black and silver can look. I can get down with it. And as far as that beer looks, I mean, it looks like a hazy. It looks like a little bit less dense than a typical kind of double IPA hazy, which is kind of close to what a farmhouse ale would be. They're saying kind of a barrel-aged blonde ale. I'm assuming that's the case because it might have dropped out a bit of its kind of fluff and cream and all the kind of stuff that it might have had originally. So it looks the part for the most part. Rich orange core. See if we can get a nose. That's really fruity. Like, really fruity to the point where I'm kind of, like, blown away that there's nothing in it besides that kind of botanical ginniness. Yeah, it smells really nice, honestly. You get this kind of peachiness is really where it leans towards me. Like a peach skinniness. So peach skins with nice malt sweetness and this little bit of this kind of alcohol, kind of vapory thing that I get from gin from time to time. Not the biggest gin fan in the world, but I love gin and tonics because there's a chemical reaction between the quinine and the actual gin that ends up making it taste delicious. Base gin on its own isn't my favorite drink. I would never ever drink it plain, but it can work when it comes to beers because I've had some really well done kind of gin barrel aged beers, and this is giving that kind of little bit of alcohol blow off in combination with a little bit of kind of gin botanicals on top of that kind of peach, which I assume was an original thing from maybe the yeast ester in the beer originally. That's kind of what I'm getting. It smells really, really complicated. It smells multiple levels of different kind of stuff going on there. I think the word for that is complex. But yeah, I'm kind of curious to see what it tastes like. Cheers. I can't believe there's no fruit in this. I get so much stone fruit and like a pear combo on this that it's almost like I can't believe there's no fucking fruit in this thing. It's delicious, by the way. And not delicious in a kind of like give me what I like and I'll call it delicious kind of delicious. And by that I mean it's not really my favorite kind of beer. These kind of big burly blonde ales. Sure, it started off as a Saison, but big burly blonde ale. There's a little bit of touch of oxidation in combination with a gin barrel. For all intents and purposes, I should like it if it's well done, but I shouldn't be this kind of happy with it. There's something about it. That level of fruit coming from the beer in combination with those soft botanicals, which is like probably like a third player here, but only because I think that fruit portion in a show that's showing up in like leaps and bounds in front of everything else, and following that with this kind of little bit of alcohol kind of burn off, blow off, this kind of, it's like an evaporative alcohol thing, but very much in a gin way, but not bringing any of the heat you would typically get from a gin. I think there's like a decent amount of vanilla in this from the wood too. I'm gonna have to look up some Tomcat Gin and try some. because this might be like a specific Tomcat gin, like specific thing going on, but whatever it is, I really do dig it. This is a really fun beer, guys. Like, I was kind of pushing this one off. I got these probably about 2.5 weeks ago. I was like, okay, 8% barrel age, 8% barrel age. Push it off. And I'm like, you know what? Screw it. Let's crack it. No, I'm pissed I didn't crack it sooner. And I'm really curious. So, if y'all from Time Materials are watching, go over to my buddy Keith's channel, 93 Lumber, spelled out numbers. I gave him a can of this. He gave me 2 cans of this. And I was like, usually what I try to do is I'll try to pass one of those cans off to somebody else who does beer reviews. That way, you guys get a little bit of exposure. And this time, I did it Keith, and more specifically did it with Keith because he is very big in the gin barrel aged beers, period. And I'm really curious to see, he knew who Tomcat was. That's kind of his thing. And I'm really curious to see what he says about this. Because I could see him actually kind of being like, this is fucking amazing. Because I think he'd appreciate it a little bit more because he's such a big fan of that gin. But I like this, man. That fruit component, like I said, is almost beyond belief that it exists as big as it does without there being a fruit addition to this. That little bit, like I said, of that alcohol-y blow-off kind of thing is not negative. It almost adds this added depth of sensory to the beer. And then that little bit of soft kind of typical gin botanicals in combination with the vanilla, which that vanilla each sip builds and builds and builds. I assume it's a vanilla coming from the wood of the gin barrels that were used. This is really tasty stuff, dude. I don't know what else to say. I want to stress emphatically that this is not my favorite style of combination of beer, but it's probably one of the more tasty, creative beers I've had in quite some time. Very good stuff. Thank you very much, guys, for sending this off. Yeah. Can't wait to see the commercial retail stuff out there. It's going to be very fun to see what you guys pull off. So, there you go. A little homebrew in the books. I'm not going to do anything else. We don't talk about anything else. We just say, hey, this is what we get about the beer. No. We have to find something I don't like about it. It's hard to not like this beer, even if it's... So when homebrewers ask for stuff, you typically want to give them something to work off of. You don't want to just give them just praise across the board, unless it's warranted. But again, this has kind of been a broken record. I've said so many good homebrews as of late. It is warranted here. I don't know if I change much. I change it to be a little bit more my style of beer, like change the style of beer, maybe change the barrel, but that's not changing this beer. I don't think this needs to be changed in any form or fashion. I think somebody that really gets down on these flavor points, we go bonkers for it. That's why I'm curious to see what Keith says. So there you go. Got nothing for you. So there you go. Little homebrew in the books. If you guys want to send some off, I will not be as nice, maybe. But I can't promise anything. The truth is what happens, what tumbles out of the mouth hole. You're more than welcome to reach out, Matt at massivebeers.com, massivebeers@gmail.com. If you want to check me out, do the social media stuff, Beer Massive. Actually, that's the podcasting stuff. The social media stuff is Massive Beers, Beer Massive podcasting stuff. And hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. Hopefully you're enjoying a little homebrew right now. Hope we'll see you next time. Cheers.